The world of work is changing. Everyone sees that, and more importantly, everyone feels it, because the area we're studying here is something that touches the lives of everyone who's alive today, young, old, employed, unemployed. We wanted to set out and understand what those changes were.
We can see change in very different aspects. There are new people entering the workforce. There are people working through new forms of work, not only self-employed, but also part-time. There are people switching not only between jobs, and increasingly so, but also between statuses, between self-employed, part-time employees, and we see people changing countries. And the reality is that policy have not adapted to it, struggle to adapt to this changing world. And so we wanted to go on this intellectual journey to discover which countries are more adaptive to this change.
The 2019 Future of Work Index tries to cover a diversity of areas that might provide a more complex answer to a complex issue that is the future of work. It's not trying to focus on a particular area with emphasis, but more to understand the complexity and blend the informations to bring the performances of countries up to a certain level where you can say you do best in this area, but you could improve certain aspects to make even better situation in the future.
Perhaps not surprisingly, we found that Sweden, Denmark, and the Netherlands come out at the top of the study, and the countries that we saw with the most difficulty, the biggest problem in managing this transition were Greece, Bulgaria, Croatia, and Romania. But the interesting part were the details. And in order to tell this story, we set out to look at three very important things across countries. The first one was, how inclusive is the workforce? Have the economy somehow managed to involve women, the young, the older, and immigrants? Secondly, we wanted to look at the question of transition to the digital economy, and this is a very complex question, where first of all, the digital skills of the population, the ability to solve complex problems, but just as important is how digitized has the economy been. And there's a third area as well, the quality of the policy that lies behind this. How quickly can people find a new job when they lose an old one? How well is policy there to support them with things like training, but not only training, counseling and assistance in those moments when they need that kind of assistance the most? This is where the challenge lies ahead. The society is changing very quickly, and policy making have been slow to respond, slow to understand the changes, and even slower to give us social protection that rises to the challenge that many people are experiencing now.
It's a good way to look at the indicators, to look at the aspects, and to try to encourage countries to change or to improve areas that at first glance may not look for them a problem or an issue, but might actually become a weakness in the future if they are not addressed at the proper time.
This publication is the result of a long, hard work of research, but in reality, it's only the start. What we want to stimulate a debate that is, on the one hand, based on evidence, and on the other, which takes a broad view of changes in the workplace. It's not just about amount of spending on social security, more or less. It's not just about employees versus self-employed. It's not about will artificial intelligence reduce jobs. It addresses all these aspects, plus social change in a broad view, and looking at the small innovation that are already taking place in all the member states, and there is something positive happening in all member states.